You might know this place as the lair of the villain from the famous James Bond movie Skyfall. Also known as Battleship Island or the Ghost Island, Hashima is an abandoned island located in Nagasaki Prefecture. From the late 1800s to late 1900s, the island was populated with 5,000 miners because of the access it granted to undersea coal mines. However, as Japan gradually switched from coal to petroleum, the mines closed down, leaving an isolated ghost town that reminds some of a ghostly concrete battleship. Once having the population of 50,000 people, Pripyat was the ninth nuclear city in the Soviet Union. You may recognize this city if you have ever played the game Call of Duty. This abandoned city is used as a set in many multiplayer maps and a few missions too. Pripyat was evacuated due to the Chernobyl disaster that occurred on 26 April 1986. During the accident itself, 31 people died, and the later deaths due to the cancer radiation ranges from 10,000 to 2 lakhs. Access to the city was restricted since the disaster occurred, but if you are willing to risk and bypass all the securities, it would give you a threatening experience. Mirny Diamond Mine, also known as Mir Mine, is the second largest man-made hole on Earth. The mine is 525 meters deep and has a diameter of 1,200 meters. During its peak years of operation, the mine produced over 10 million carats of diamond annually. Further digging efforts were eventually abandoned when it became too difficult to continue digging this massive hole. It was closed in 2004 and the airspace over the mine is restricted for flying because there have been reported incidents of helicopter being sucked in by the downwards airflow. If you ever visited, the harsh frozen hole would definitely make your blood run cold. Six Flags Amusement Park in New Orleans was once alive with the sound of happy voices, flashing lights, and the scream of delight from thrill seekers on roller coasters. Until a Hurricane Katrina struck in 2005 and destroyed almost everything. The park was submerged in floodwater to a depth of 4 to 7 feet for over a month. Most of the rides were damaged due to saltwater immersion. The park was permanently closed. There were many redevelopment proposals, but all of them failed. Now the park is used as a film shoot location, being one of the most creepiest places and a perfect set for a horror movie. Bullyland USA was a theme park based on various passages from the Bible. At its peak years in the 1960s and 70s, the park attracted around 40,000 visitors annually. It was closed for renovations in 1984 and its owner died in 1986, and nobody has been sure what to do with it since. For almost 30 years, this park was left abandoned until it was reopened in 2014. Over its period of closure, the land and the monument faced the effect of vandalism and served as a terrifying place. While the abandoned town of Bhangarh in the state of Rajasthan, India, has become something of a tourist attraction, setting foot in this place at night is strictly forbidden, and apparently the Indian government is pretty serious about it. Wondering why? Legend goes that a heartbroken magician in the 16th century, after being rejected by the kingdom's princess, cursed this place and all who lived within it with death without the possibility of rebirth. A prominent sign outside the little town reads, "Entering the borders of Bhangarh after sunset is strictly prohibited." And while they do not promise any paranormal activity, I think following the rule is probably a good idea. La Isla de las Munecas, also known as the Island of Dolls. This island is totally filled with creepiest dolls hanging all over. The only person living here was Don Julian Santana Barrera, who had a knack for collecting dolls. The legend goes that years ago a small girl drowned in the canals near the island, and not long after her death, Julian found her doll floating in the water. Then he found another one. By that point, he was hooked on a new and exciting hobby. Over the course of the next 50 years, Julian collected thousands of discarded dolls, which he thought would somehow serve as a companion for the dead girl. However, in 2001, Julian passed away by drowning in the same canal as the girl whose ghost he was trying to appease for all these years. You can visit this place in daylight, but at night it would make you jump out of your skin. Danvers State Hospital in Massachusetts is also known as the Danvers Lunatic Asylum. In its most crowded period during the 1920s and 30s, there were controversies over its rumored use of shock therapy, drugs, and frontal lobotomies. In fact, it may have been the birthplace of that procedure. Since its closure in 1992, it has fallen into the state of severe creepiness and disrepair. It was the setting for the 2001 horror film Session 9 and did a lot of heavy lifting in generating a truly dreadful atmosphere. While there have been efforts to renovate this area, the spirits have not been kind to those efforts. In 2006, some structures were demolished and apartment buildings were put in their place. In April 2007, all of those buildings and several other construction trailers went up in flames. Any efforts at renovation since then have largely stalled, proving some kind of paranormal activity. Discovery Hut, located in Antarctica close to McMurdo Sound, is a really cool looking place that you really do not ever want to visit. It was built by the party of explorer Robert Falcon Scott during the discovery expedition of 1901 to 1904. If the hut looks like it's in pretty good shape for being that old, it may be because it's totally frozen solid. Inside this incredibly drafty little hut that sits in one of the coolest regions of the planet, you will find functionally useless equipment, including 90 plus years old stores of sealed carcasses, meat and blubber, snow, ice and despair. The hut has served no real purpose for decades upon decades, and probably would have been completely lost to decay and neglect long ago if it didn't sit in the middle of a deep freeze. Anderlecht Veterinary School. This veterinary school, located in Anderlecht, has stood deserted since the 90s. Its deserted, crumbling halls leads to rooms that are each full of more horrifying stuff than the last one. Old hand-blown bottles of questionable fluids, syringes, and other old rusty medical equipments, and that's just the beginning. The main attractions are the animal heads and brains and assorted parts stuffed into jars throughout the building, which can be called as the horror labs. Some parts are recognizable, some are not, some are jammed together into larger jars, some are sewn together, and we absolutely do not want to know why. This is allegedly a fairly popular urban exploration destination. Although if you want to take a day trip to the horror labs, you are braver than the bravest. These were 10 out of the many creepiest abandoned places from all over the world. If you know more, let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, click the like button and share it with your friends. Also comment out what video you want to watch next. Did you know that marijuana is legal in North Korea? Click the link on the screen or the description below to know top 10 facts about North Korea. Moreover, don't forget to subscribe.